Well, hello, and welcome to another lesson of the Focus on DatoCMS course. I am Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator. As always, get a hold of me right there, marcelo@headlesscreator.com. Send me an email with any questions, comments, ideas you have. I'd love to get back to you. Today, I'm going to show you how to work with and enable localization in DatoCMS. There's a whole bunch of stuff to think about, to consider. We're going to get into the content model. We're going to get into media. There's a whole bunch of stuff I'm going to cover. So pretty exciting stuff. So I can't wait to jump into that. But you know how this works. Before we get to that, I'm going to tell you real quick about headlesscreator.com. Go get your free account. Those of you watching live, if you don't have an account, go get your free account. You'll have access to this lesson on demand right after we're done. And on top of that, you also have access to the entire course. So you'll see the Focus on DatoCMS course, which has tons of lessons in there already on demand, plus a whole bunch of upcoming lessons, bonus material, just a bunch of stuff. So get your free account. You'll also have, of course, access to all of the other courses, including Content Modeling Weekly, a bunch of other Focus on courses, the Discover Headless Tech course. I'm about to launch a personalization course, which is going to be really, really great, called Personalization Bootcamp. You'll have access to that. So I can't emphasize it enough. Get your free account. Costs you nothing except your time. It'll help grow the website and be able to bring you more content for you. So having said that, I'm going to go ahead and restart the intro, because you know how it works. The on-demand version will have absolutely no marketing. And what we'll do is we'll restart that intro, and we'll get started directly into the lesson. So we'll see you in just 10 seconds. Well, hello, and welcome to another lesson of the Focus on DatoCMS course. I am Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator. As always, get a hold of me right there, marcelo@headlesscreator.com. Send me an email with questions, comments, ideas, whatever you like. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Today, we're working with localized content, and more specifically, how do we create content models that are localized? How do we manage the localized settings? How do we work with media that's localized, so on and so forth. So there's a lot to cover today. So let's get started. So let me show my screen here. And for those of you that have any questions, you have a chat. Type the questions in the chat. I'll keep an eye on that chat, and once in a while, if there's any questions, I'll answer them for you. But let's talk about what is a locale. A locale is a combination of location and language. That's it. So for example, Argentina and Spanish would be a locale, but you can also have Mexico in Spanish, and you can have, and that's why it's called a locale, because maybe you can have a different kind of context around a blog article that's focused on the Mexican audience versus the Argentinian audience, even though the language is still Spanish. Now, for example, you could do the same thing with English. You can have British English or UK English and US English or Australian English. Now, they're all English, but the locale, the location makes a big difference, right? In how you speak to that audience. There may be a variety of different words you use, there's context, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes to that. So that is what is a locale. Let me tell you how does DatoCMS support locales. So this is a Miro board that is accessible later on demand via the bonus material. So make sure you get your account at headlesscreator.com. All right. So it's important that you understand this before we jump into DatoCMS. But you've got DatoCMS at the top level, right? Keep in mind that DatoCMS has the ability to have multiple environments. You can have a master environment, you can have a staging environment, you can have a testing environment, so on and so forth. At that level is where you set up locales. What does that mean? The implication is that you can have an environment that has 3 locales, and then you can have a different environment that only has 2 locales. And all those settings are specific to the environment. So keep that in mind if you're running into issues. You're going, well, I set this up before. make sure you're in the right environment. Now, within the environment itself, you have settings. Under settings is where you actually will add locales. Don't worry, I'm just giving you an overview here. We're going to jump into DatoCMS and I'll show you. So that's where you add and enable multiple locales. Then you have content and content model and media, right at the right below the environment. For content, you have global settings, which you can localize. That's for your entire site. And then entries, you can localize entries depending on what fields and content types you decided to allow to localize. And I'm gonna show you that. At the content model level, you have content types and blocks. Okay, and this is really important. I'm gonna show you. But content types can have fields, same with blocks. Blocks can have fields. However, content types, you can enable field level localization. So you can say, I want this field to be localized, but not this field. So that means that all locales will have the same content for that one field that is not localized. However, blocks cannot be localized at the field level. And some of you go, wait a minute, yes, it can. No, it can't. The actual block itself, the fields can't be localized, and I'll show you in DatoCMS. But when you add that block, that structure as a modular block into a content type field, you can then enable localization in that field. However, what that implies is that the entire structure is either going to be localized or not localized. So for example, I'll show you some address blocks that I have that has address, city, state, zip. Basically, when I add it to a field, all of those fields will either be localized or not localized. I can't say only localize the address field in this block. That would be a nice feature. Maybe DatoCMS will enhance that in the future, but right now you can't do that. And then media-wise, you can localize media in the sense that there's default metadata and custom data fields, custom metadata fields. You can localize those, but you cannot have multiple image in one media that says this image for Spanish, this image for English, this image for Chinese. However, I'm going to show you a workaround that will work. And then the final piece that you can localize, it's the actual interface of the CMS, where you go in and when you're working on the CMS. So the admin piece, you can actually localize that into a variety of language that they've translated already. So, all right, so that is the overview. It's important to understand this. I'm going to go back and forth with this diagram so you know where we're at within DatoCMS, so you know what things you can and can't do. And you can use this as a way to debug any issues you may have with localization as well. All right. So let's start with the easy part. I'm going to start with localizing the CMS environment. You can see that I have everything in English here, right? You have settings, media, API Explorer. What I'm going to do is you can go into your profile right here. Let's see if we can go this a little larger. Just sometimes it distorts things. But here into your profile, you'll go into Localization Settings. And there, under language, you can change it to whatever language you want. So for example, let's say I want in Spanish, which I understand Spanish. I'll click on Spanish, click on Save Settings. And now you have Contenido, Explorador de API, Ajustes, Nuevo Registro, right? Everything is in Spanish. So that's the first thing you could do is localize the CMS admin interface, which has nothing to do with the content you're creating, but the interface itself. If you have users that speak other language, this is a great little feature that I personally like. Let's go ahead and put it back into settings. We'll go back to English and click on save. So now we're back to English. So that's the first thing you can do with localization. So now let's go ahead and create entries. We're just going to create a simple, I have a very simple author content type here. Very simple content type. We're going to go ahead and create a new record, and I'm going to say under record here, I'm going to put in Marcelo Lewin, and we'll say the founder of Headless Creator.com. And then this is a field pointing to a block, a content structure, right? A block. So I'm gonna add a new address, and I'm gonna say 111 East Street in some city, and then we'll say New York, and we'll say USA. Okay, we'll go ahead and click on save. Alrighty, we just have basically here just an entry. That's it. No, in English, you can see basically that's all we have. That's the only language we have. So how do you know what language you have? Well, let me go ahead and show you. Let's go into settings. And under settings here, you can see right here we have supported language and we say English. Now, this is where you can actually add more locales. And I'm going through my list here to make sure I'm covering everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the Spanish. Now, if you type in Spanish, you see that there's a bunch of Spanish locales. Remember, language and location. So Spanish Argentina, Spanish Bolivia, Spanish Chile, right? I'm going to, of course, select Spanish Argentina. We'll do that. You can, of course, they also have just a regular Spanish, which it's an all Spanish. Doesn't matter the language. We can do that one. We'll just do that. Let's just keep it like that. Simple. I'm going to click on save. Okay. So now that we've done that, what we're going to do now, let me make sure here, is we're going to go now back into content. Let's go back to author. We're going to go back into here, and all of a sudden, magically, automatically, we'll have a Spanish version. Okay. And then, so there we go. We've got my biography in English, and we have, wait, it's showing I'm the founder of Headless Creator in Spanish as well. That is really strange. Let's go look at settings, models. Let's go to author. Let's go to biography. We don't have enable localization on this field turned on. That's the problem. So for example, if I go back to content, I knew I was wrong, of course. If we go back to content, go back to here, and I go to Spanish, and I go and change this and say, here is my Spanish biography. And click on save. Go to English. It says, here's my Spanish biography. Okay. So one thing I want to do, let me check real quick. Under settings, models, author, and let's go to the field. Yeah, let me turn this off for a second. I'll explain what's going on in just a second, but I'll go back to content, author, and here we go. So you saw that because I changed it, because I changed the, I turned off all localization and everything, we only have English. So now to actually turn on localization, remember in settings here, all you're saying is, that had just happened. All you're saying is, hey, I want to support these localizations or these locales. When you go into a model, you then have to turn on the actual localization for whatever field you want to localize. For example, I want to localize first name and last name because that's going to be pretty much the same thing on all locales. But I do want to localize biography. So I'm going to go to edit field, enable localization, click on save. And now when we go to content, Marcelo, we'll change this back to here's my English biography, and I go to Spanish.